thank you so much, and welcome to everyone to participate in today's webinar. My name is Zahra Al-Darwish. I'm pre-sales manager and senior security consultant, taking the responsibility of Levant territory, UAE, and Oman. So today, hopefully, we will cover two important solutions of our enterprise portfolio called Kaspersky Anti-Target Attack and EDR, Endpoint Detection and Response. And you may notice that the title of my presentation is different about the two solutions. So the name of the presentation will be Kaspersky Threat Management and Defense. And during the presentation, we will discover why we have such a name of a presentation or a solution. So I will start the presentation with the brief introduction about Kaspersky. Kaspersky as a company, as a security company. So Kaspersky, as a security vendor or as a security company, we have more than 5,000 employees distributed globally. We have different local offices, such as the one we have in Dubai. And this office in Dubai is mainly responsible for META region. We are managing all the channel and marketing, sales, all the activities for META region, Middle East, Turkey, and Africa from our local office in Dubai. However, we have our local office in Turkey, in Saudi Arabia, and in South Africa as well. So in Kaspersky Lab, third of our employees work as research and development. So either they will research for APTs or threats, viruses on the dark web, on the blogs of the cyber criminals. They participate in the blogs of the cyber criminals in safe manner, just to get the information about these attacks, about these threats, and they provide this information to our developers to develop our solutions using specific techniques to stop and block these threats. On daily basis, we are detecting more than 360,000 new malware per day, and we will see how we can divide these 360,000 new malware into different categories. And the most important team in the company, to be honest, is our great team, our global research and analysis team, who is discovering those threats and attacks. We have, in Kaspersky only, we have more than 40 researchers, and the top researchers globally. They work for Kaspersky as a security vendor. On this slide, you will see part of our APTs or zero-day attacks. Those are the major attacks which discovered by Kaspersky. And you can see that there was some APTs or major attacks were heavily targeting our territory or GCC, and specific heavily targeting the GCC again, such as WannaCry, Shamoon, Desert Falcons, Carbanak, Muddy Water, etc. So these are only samples, not all the discoveries or not all the major attacks which is discovered by Kaspersky. We are giving here just sample of the major attacks discovered by Kaspersky. Now we will see here a slide where we can see that 90% of those malwares detected by Kaspersky will be considered as generic malware. Generic malware means any malware or any threat or any spam virus can be created by any cyber criminal who has the basic knowledge of how to create a malware or how to create a spam or Trojan, etc. 9% or 9.9% of this detection considered as a targeted attack. What do you mean by target attack? Target attack means it's a complex malware, not generic malware or not an easy malware, which can be discovered by any traditional endpoint security solution. It uses complex malware using different scripts. And mainly those target attacks will be created for specific organizations or use different techniques to compromise or to attack organizations in general. The most critical category of these malwares, we call it APTs, Advanced Persistent Threat or zero-day attacks. What do you mean by advanced persistent threats? Advanced persistent threats means that the cyber criminals will create or develop a very advanced and complex malware that can compromise any security layer in the organization. The main purpose or the main goal of these APTs is to work in the silent mode, to make the damage and delete all its traces. So the cyber criminals, once they spread an APT and this APT works successfully, they can do the damage which they have created this malware for, and then they will delete all the traces which will lead to this APT or to their command and control center, for example. So these APTs are very dangerous and very critical to hit any organization. You can see that they are very less compared to other malwares, but the damage, to be honest, which can be caused by these APTs, it's much, much more than the target attacks or the generic malwares, because they are targeting a specific organization or a specific country to do some damage or to leak some information and run away. So in this case, we will see that Kaspersky has a big portfolio to protect the organizations against any kind of attack. So we will talk about the core or the baseline for the generic malwares. For the generic malwares, Kaspersky has plenty of security solutions that can stop those generic malware, to detect them, delete them, quarantine them, etc. So we are talking here about Kaspersky Endpoint Security, our famous solution. We are talking about another solution called Kaspersky Hybrid Cloud Security, which mainly designed for the private or public cloud. It is designed for or to protect the organization against the threats that might attack the virtualized environment. We have our Kaspersky Sandbox solution, which comes at the top of Kaspersky Endpoint Security. An additional solution or add-on solution for mail servers or mail gateway, another one for the internet gateway, dedicated solution for storage devices, etc., etc. If we will go to upper level, if we want to protect organizations against the targeted attacks or more complex malware, then we have to talk about different solutions which use different techniques to detect those malwares. So we are talking about mainly targeted attack, a Kaspersky anti-targeted attack solution, Kaspersky endpoint detection and response. We are talking about specific organizations, specific services, such as Kaspersky Target Attack Discovery. It's a service which allows Kaspersky Red Team to involve or to take the responsibility to detect and discover the attack. If happened on the organization, they can do some analysis, system hardening. They will collect all these events and traces. They will analyze it and come back to the customer with some techniques to stop this attack or this APT, some recommendation to enhance their security solutions or layers. Of course, we have training dedicated training to develop the skills of the organization security department. We have dedicated technical training such as digital forensics, malware analysis. We have incident response training also. We have Yara engine training. We can share this information later on. And of course, we have the threat intelligence services, which we will talk about it also at the end of this solution or this presentation. At the top level, at the top of this pyramid, we have two solutions actually for the customers who are looking for a complete platform to protect them against those APTs or advanced persistent threats. So what we can offer these customers, we can offer them something called threat management and defense. Threat management defense, it's a combination of Kaspersky anti-target attack, Kaspersky endpoint detection and response, and some additional services they can add it at the top of these solutions. So we will talk in depth about Kaspersky threat management and defense, and we can offer them a training and some certain solutions and services to build their own security operation centers. Security operation centers, most of the enterprise organizations, they are either building up their own security operation centers, or they are keep continuing on developing or empowering their existing operation centers. So we have dedicated services and solutions for security operation centers. Our focus today about threat management and defense, the solution which can protect you against the targeted attacks and APTs. So what is the solution? The solution actually, the most important thing about this solution, it's a software-based solution. It's not a hardware appliance, which means that this solution can be installed or configured on any network configuration. Some other solutions, they will ask you to place a hardware or sandbox within your network infrastructure. You might need to change an existing solution you have, or you have to change some changes on the network diagram. In Kaspersky, we don't need to change anything. We are compatible with any security or with any network device the customer has. So how it will work? It's divided into three parts, let's say. The first part is the data acquisition, where we will collect information about the suspicious object, suspicious file, suspicious URL, or malicious URL. We will collect this information and send that to a dedicated environment called central node and sandbox. On the central node and the sandbox, we will do some analysis, and we will deep digging into these samples received by the sensors, which we will talk about later on. On this central node, as you can see in the center of this presentation or this slide, you will find the KATA and EDR platform, where we will do some internal event correlation. We will analyze this information with the help of machine learning. Once we analyze these objects, the system will create something called incident alert, okay, or alert, where it will give the information, all the related information about this detection to the security officer. The technologies we are using on KATA and EDR solution, as you can see, we are using different technologies to analyze the samples. Here we are talking on KATA and EDR, we are talking about analyzing, not scanning. The traditional endpoint security solutions will do scanning, which means there should be signature updates which they rely on. So if the customer has more signature updates or latest signature updates, that means their endpoint security solution might detect more threats based on this database. On KATA and EDR, we don't rely on signature update mainly. However, you can see that we are using the anti-malware engine as a part of the solution or part of the technologies used on this platform. So here we are talking about analyzing the objects, samples. We will do threat hunting, incident investigation, and incident response. So the technologies we are using on KATA and EDR, it is anti-malware engine. We will scan the file based on signature updates because we don't know, or the system or Kaspersky anti-target attack and EDR doesn't know whether this information is scanned on the endpoint level or not. The solution doesn't know if the customer or the endpoint machine, which has this sample, whether it has Kaspersky endpoint security or not, whether the antivirus or the endpoint is updated or not. So we will scan the file once again if it was scanned. So it will be scanned on the KATA and EDR platform. Once again, we are using behavior analysis, also cert check to check the digital certificate of this malware, to check the integrity, I mean. We are using IDS technology, URL reputation with the help of our global intelligence Kaspersky security network. We are using dedicated technology to analyze Android files, the APK files, which is related to Android platform. Part of the technologies, also Yara rules. Yara, for those who doesn't know what does it mean or what is Yara. Yara is an open source anti-malware, which allows the security officer to write his own rules for detection malwares or for detection of the malwares. So we have Yara as part of the solution, Yara engine. The solution also allows the security officer to bring his IOCs, indicator of compromise, which is very important. So, for example, some banks or some government entities, when they will use this kind of solutions, they can bring their own IOCs. IOCs is the indicator of compromise, which they can purchase from Kaspersky or any security vendor, or they might receive it from, let's say, like an influencer entity in their country. So, for example, if we are talking about a bank, maybe the Central Bank of UAE will distribute a list of IOCs for a certain attack hitting UAE. So they will distribute these list of IOCs into the banks in UAE and informing them that use these IOCs into their security solutions to scan their environment against those IOCs. So the customer will have this ability to add his own list of IOCs. However, we will see at the end of this presentation that he can bring his own IOCs from Kaspersky. So we can provide them also with the list of IOCs for the attacks we are discovering, we are monitoring with extra charge. Of course, this solution also will rely on sandbox to emulate or execute the sample to be able to see the full behavior or the full execution history of this malware on the machine, whether it will manipulate the system or the server or whatever. So we will see the full history of the execution of this sample on the sandbox. As you can see also here, down, this solution can be enriched, or we can add more intelligence into this solution using a specific services. So we will add more information into our Kaspersky anti-target attack or EDR to increase the artificial intelligence of this solution. So we will feed them, or we will feed the solution, for example, with the list of IOCs, with the list of IP addresses that it has to be blocked, the list of URLs, all these services. We will talk about it at the end of this presentation. This solution can be integrated also with the CM solution, with any CM solution of the customer. They will, or this solution will export the events which will be generated by KATA and EDR into the CM solution using CEF, syslog, or RESTful API format. And this is very important to inform the customer that this solution will help you to have better visibility over the network using KATA or EDR alerts, which can be integrated on the CM solution or the security operation centers. So I believe we talked about the KATA. Let's talk about how it will work. As we said, on the part of data acquisition, we will use a software-based sensor, which means there will be a dedicated server to capture traffic or to collect some samples from the internet gateway of the customer, from his email gateway, or using his core switch. So the first sensor can be integrated with the internet gateway of the customer to collect ICAP traffic, extract this traffic, and scan the... sorry? All right. So it will be connected to the internet gateway of the customer, collect and receive the ICAP traffic to scan the contents of these traffic. Another sensor will be connected to the email gateway of the customer to collect samples, or to analyze actually the attachments they might receive or the URL in the body of the email. So it is integrated with ICAP, POP3, SMTP, or we can connect one of the sensors to the core switch of the organization using the spam port. So all the mirrored traffic from the spam port will be sent to the KATA platform, extract these traffic and analyze its contents. So on the network level, we will use Kaspersky anti-target attack solution. Okay, so Kaspersky anti-target attack solution is mainly a solution to detect the zero-day attacks or APTs on the network level. On the endpoint level, we will use Kaspersky endpoint detection and response. Mainly the EDR agent, which is installed on the servers and workstations, will send the files or the suspicious files or suspicious object into the EDR platform. So here, the data acquisition for the endpoint is the EDR agent. Okay, so EDR will be used on the endpoint level. KATA solution will be used on the network level, which means I can purchase KATA separately and EDR separately. It is not mandatory to buy or to sell these two solutions together. So the data acquisition, the sensors will collect the samples from the internet gateway, mail gateway, or the core switch on the KATA level, or the EDR agent will send the samples into the KATA and EDR platform. As we said earlier, KATA and EDR will use the same servers, two servers with some specific hardware. We can share it with the customer. It depends on their environment and their infrastructure. One server called central node. This central node will have all these technologies we talked about earlier here. It is on the central node. The second server called sandbox, where it will execute and force this malware or this object to be executed or emulated on an isolated environment. And this is very important to mention this. The sandbox will be will force this object to be executed in an isolated environment, which means if anything happened on this sandbox, nothing will affect the customer's environment. And this is very important to be a part of this solution. Because some malwares will try to communicate with a command and control center, which is related to the cyber criminals, to control this APT or to control this malware. Once it is executed, it will send some alert or notification to the command and control center that I'm executed on this environment or on this server. So the command and control center will send them additional modules, or we call it payload. So they will send a request to command and control center, and the command and control center will send them the payload or additional module to be executed. So on the sandbox, we will be able to see all these verdicts, all these modules. It can be executed on an isolated environment or safe environment where nothing will affect the customer environment. The data received by the sensors will be analyzed on central node, again using different technologies and techniques, and on the sandbox, it will be executed. At the same time, you can see here that we have Kaspersky Security Network. Kaspersky Security Network mainly is designed to verify or to provide the global intelligence into this solution. So any object that will be analyzed on the KATA and sandbox, it will be, or its metadata, the MD5 or the SHA-256, it will be verified with the KSN to check whether Kaspersky has analyzed this object before or not. The reason of using Kaspersky Security Network, actually, because on KSN we have a huge number of analyzed and scanned objects. So in terms when we are talking about applications or files, Kaspersky Security Network has now more than 1.1 billion files, which is already scanned, and it has a proper definition, whether it is critical or whether it is suspicious or dangerous. Also, it will be used for verifying the URL. The KSN will inform KATA solution or EDR that this URL belongs to the malicious database or phishing database. It will give you a faster response into the KATA solution. So instead of waiting for the response to be analyzed, to analyze this object or this file or this application, KSN can provide you with this information within like a blink of eye. So this is very important to mention to the customer that this solution will get more information from the global threat intelligence platform of Kaspersky. In case the customer has some complaints or has some regulation not to share any information with external cloud solution, then it can be Kaspersky Security Network can be replaced. Sorry, what is it? Yes, here. Kaspersky Security Network can be replaced with something called Kaspersky Private Security Network. Kaspersky Private Security Network, actually, it's a replication of our global intelligence platform, which can be installed on a server within the customer's environment on-prem. And this server will communicate with our global intelligence or Kaspersky Security Network in one way of communication. So this server will just download the latest information and updates from Kaspersky Security Network into this server, the KPSN, and all other solutions which is related to or provided by Kaspersky will verify the information or the object metadata with KPSN, not to the KSN. So all the objects on KATA or even endpoint security will be verified with this KPSN, their private security network, and it will never ever communicate with Kaspersky Security Network. Let me go back to this slide because it is really important. Okay, so it says the visibility everywhere and response closest to potential danger. To be honest, I can add one additional point to this slide. The benefits of using Kaspersky anti-target attack and Kaspersky EDR, or endpoint detection and response. When we are talking about the endpoint detection and response, if the customer is already using Kaspersky endpoint security, then he doesn't need to install any additional agent on his endpoint machines. So we are using Kaspersky endpoint security as an application or as an installation package. Part of, or one of the components used on Kaspersky endpoint security is Kaspersky endpoint detection and response agent. Okay, it's called endpoint sensor. You can check it on your, for example, if you are using Kaspersky endpoint security, you can check that on the installation package of Kaspersky endpoint security, there is a component called endpoint sensor. We will use this component as the EDR agent. So the EDR agent, which is part of Kaspersky endpoint security, will send these objects or samples to central node or the EDR platform. So the customer doesn't need to install any additional agent on his endpoint. The EDR, or this endpoint agent, will be helpful for the investigation. So if the customer gets an alert, he can do some further investigation on the rest of endpoints. He can do some threat hunting using these endpoint machines. So he has full visibility on the network. On the endpoint or the EDR, as we said, you can, or the administrator can bring his own list of IOCs. In addition to the IOCs, he can create something called indicator of attack. Indicator of attack is mainly the machine learning of KATA solution and EDR. The indicator of attack, actually, it's a certain rules. Let's say it's kind of signature updates. It's something like signature updates. Okay, so it's an update which can be added to the KATA and EDR platform. These rules, it has certain information about techniques that can be used in specific attacks or specific threats. So later on, the customer will see that there's a lot of alerts on his KATA platform or EDR, and the technology used to detect this malware or this attack is the IOA, or indicator of attack. The good thing, or the good part in Kaspersky KATA or EDR, that the customer can create his own indicator of attack or his list of IOA, which means he can create a certain criteria, and he will say, for example, if one of the machine detects has a specific event or event name or event ID, or has some activities on the machine, then this machine should be considered as an infected machine, or I should receive an alert that this machine is already compromised or attacked. So the administrator or the security officer, the security officer can create his own list of indicator of attacks based on his own criteria. The same agent, the EDR, will be used for incident response or to take an action in case of there was a detection. We will see the list of action that can be taken by the security officer at the next slides. On the network level, as we said, Kaspersky KATA solution can be integrated with any network infrastructure, with any network equipment the customer might use. So the integration, as we said, it can be with the mail gateway using POP3 or MTP protocol, with the internet gateway or web gateway using the ICAP, or we can integrate Kaspersky anti-target attack with the using a span mode. So the customer has to configure the span port on his core switch, and this core switch or this spam port will give us a copy or mirrored traffic on the core switch. So we will collect these mirrored traffic, extract these traffic, and read the span HTTP or analyze the SMTP, HTTP, DNS, FTP, or HTTPS, or even we can analyze the attachments, okay, like Word document, Excel, etc., etc. So we will analyze all these traffic which can pass the core switch. And this is very important to mention as a technical feature in Kaspersky. The span mode can be customized. So the customer will say, I don't want to read the SMTP or I don't want to read the HTTP from the span to minimize the load on the core switch. So we can configure our solution to read only SMTP or to extract the SMTP traffic or the HTTPS traffic, etc. Another solution can be added to the KATA solution called KSMG. To be honest, the solution, in case it was integrated with the mail gateway of the customer, so how it will work? KATA solution will take a copy of the attachment or the URL that the user might receive and analyze it on the central node and the sandbox. However, the same email will be sent to the customer or to the user mailbox in parallel. If I want to add additional feature to KATA solution, then we can deploy something called Kaspersky Secure Mail Gateway, which is mainly Linux. It's designed on Linux operating system, CentOS, and it has also Linux mail server. So the customer has to redirect his mail flow to Kaspersky Secure Mail Gateway. If he did so in this case, the KSMG will send the attachments and URLs to KATA solution or KATA platform servers to analyze them. At the same time, we'll keep these emails on hold. KSMG will not release those emails to the customer's mailbox or to customer's mail gateway. The benefits of using this method to guarantee that the user mailbox will receive only clean emails. Without the KSMG, as I said, the user will receive the email at the same time Kaspersky KATA solution will be analyzing the attachment or investigating more about this attachment or URL. In this case, the solution with the KSMG will work in inline mode, which means any infected attachment or any email which has infected object or malicious URL or phishing URL, it will be blocked. It will remain on the KSMG, but the user will receive a notification about an email which has been detected on KSMG or KATA solution, and this email had attachment or bad URL. So 90%, to be honest, 90% of these attacks or these malwares or APTs will be received using the email. And in case I used KSMG or the customer used KSMG with the KATA solution, then the customer or his employees will not receive those emails which has the bad attachments or zero-day attacks. The benefits of using Kaspersky anti-targeted attack and EDR, endpoint detection and response solution. It's summarized on this slide. So we talked about the advanced detection using IOC's indicator of compromise. We talked about the indicator of attacks that it will be received during the update of the central node. So the central node every, let's say, 1 hour or 2 hours will download some updates for some technologies, such as the anti-malware engine, certain check, risk score for the Android objects. At the same time, it will download some information or some updates for the IOA, indicator of attacks. The solution also, we said that this solution can be integrated with the CM solution of the customer using CEF, syslog formats. The solution also can be used for threat hunting, as we said, and all the alerts will be gathered and displayed on a centralized web URL. So the customer here will be able to see all the alerts coming from KATA or EDR or from both solutions into a single web console. And on this slide, you can see that the customer can have multi-tenancy platform. So, for example, if a customer has different branches, and each branch has its own mail gateway, for example, or internet gateway, or it has its own core switch, so he can dedicate a solution for each branch. And we can use a hierarchy, which means all the central nodes, sandboxes for each branch can be communicated and managed from a primary or master central node, which is located on the headquarters of this organization. And the security officer will be able to manage all these platforms or these branches using one single web console. So all the information will be displayed on this console. The administrator can take the action using this console. He can create rules to be applied on all central nodes from his web console. And what else I need to explain? And yes, and this scenario is useful for the MSSP or managed service providers who provide services to their organization or to their customers. So they might have KATA platform or EDR environment for one customer, another platform or Kaspersky threat management and defense for another customer. They can manage all these platforms using their primary central node on their organization. Sarah, I will give you the time after the presentation for your question, if you may allow me. The actions that can be taken by the security officer upon detection. So once there is a detection, the security officer will do some further investigation or threat hunting to verify this alert. And once he confirmed that this is a threat and it has to be stopped or cured, he can do stop process. He can delete the object. He can send this object to the quarantine or to the list of prevention list. And this is also very important part, that he can isolate the infected machine from the network. So basically, if the security officer confirmed that this alert is related to an attack, he can isolate the infected machine from the network using the KATA or the EDR web interface. Okay, he can allow only a specific IP address or port to be able to communicate with this machine. Mainly, we recommend to specify or to exclude only the IP address of the central node and the port to be able to communicate with this infected machine. Once the infection is stopped or the object or the infected object was deleted or prevented, the administrator can revert back or connect this infected machine to the network once it is disinfected. One more important also here I want to explain, sorry if I may go back to this slide. All the information, all the alerts that will be detected on the KATA or EDR, it will be mapped with the MITRE ATT&CK platform. Okay, it will be automatically mapped with the MITRE ATT&CK platform. So MITRE ATT&CK basically is a global knowledge base which has a lot of information about the techniques and tactics used on the recent attacks worldwide. So this platform, MITRE ATT&CK, has always the latest information about the techniques and tactics used with the global attacks happening worldwide. And the benefits of using this mapping is to get more information about this alert or this infection or this threat, and to get more information about the techniques used on this APT or this threat. So this information will help the security officers to verify that this detection or this alert is an infection, to give them more information about this threat or this attack, to be able to take some actions to stop this infection or this APT, and also it will give them more information about other or related attacks or actions or, let's say, behavior on their network. So they can get more visibility to do further investigation or to take further action on the network level or the endpoint level. So we talked about the actions that can be taken by the security officer to stop a process, specific process, delete the object, and also deleting the object or adding the object to be prevented. And it's very important to mention here, we can specify also the MD5 or the SHA of this object, because the object name may be changed from one machine to another machine, but the SHA 256 or the MD5 cannot be changed. So the security officer can add these information to the rule to block or to delete this object. We talked about these. We will go to the last part of this solution. So we can add, as we talked at the beginning, we can add additional services at the top of this platform, Kaspersky Anti-Target Attack or EDR, to empower, to increase the artificial intelligence of this solution, to give you additional information about the attacks or threats we are discovering from Kaspersky. So here we are talking about APT reporting, advanced persistent threats reporting, or financial reports, or customer-specific threat intelligence reports. These reports actually will be shared with specific customers who has a subscription to this service. This service will allow you to get these reports in a PDF format report. It has all the information about the attacks or APTs we are discovering worldwide. We will mention all the information related to these attacks, such as the TTP or technical and tactical practice we are used for during this attack. We can also share some information about the hashes used on these attacks. Part of this service also, you might receive IOCs, indicator of compromise, the IOCs related to this specific attack. Also, you can import these IOCs and add it to the KATA or EDR solution. Into this solution, you can add it. What else? If the customer doesn't want the full service, then if they are related to a financial sector, like a bank or whatever, they can buy only financial APT reports, which mainly mainly this report talks about the APTs targeting the financial sector only. Or customer-specific report, a customer can subscribe for a private report. So we will get some information generic information about the customer organization. We will provide this information to our researchers. They will use this information to search on the dark web to check if the cyber criminals or if there is any attack targeting this organization based on the information provided. And what they will do, they will create a private report and share this report with the customer entity only. So this kind of reports will not be shared with any customer. However, the generic APT report service, it is you will find the same report which can be shared with all the customers who subscribe with this service. The customer specific report, it will be the reports will be shared only with this specific customer. We will use different techniques to generate these also reports, or to get more information to be able to generate these reports, such as I said, researchers, the open source intelligence tools, or OSINT. We will use all these information to get information or indicators to check whether this company or this organization is under attack, or someone or some organization or some cyber criminals are trying to compromise or attack this organization. The second service is Kaspersky Threat Intelligence Portal and the Threat Lookup Portal. Actually, this portal will allow you to search for a specific object based on their MD5 or SHA-1 or SHA-256 to look for some certain URLs or domain or specific IP address. It's like the virus total, if you know it. So on the virus total, the customer can upload an object and wait for the virus total to scan this object based on the security vendors engine or the anti-malware engine from different security vendors, and give him the feedback whether this object is detected on certain engine or not. We have similar to this, but on Kaspersky Threat Intelligence Portal or Kaspersky Threat Lookup Portal, the customer will be able to access our private lab, where he can scan or search for a specific object or URL. This object will be verified or scanned on our own private database. We will inform the customer whether this object was analyzed before or not, whether this object is related to a specific attack which is still under discover. It's not published yet, or we didn't release the information or reports about this attack. All this information will be private information. It won't be shared with anybody. It will be only shared with the customers who subscribe to this service. So, for example, what is this related to our KATA or EDR? Let's say the KATA or EDR generated an alert showing an infected object on the machine, showing that this machine has 1, 2, 3 activities on the machine. If the customer wants to verify whether this object is related to a specific attack, whether it is communicating with the command and control center, whether there is another related modules, so he can copy excuse me, its metadata, the MD5 or the SHA of this object, paste it on the Threat Lookup Portal and search for it. Kaspersky will provide him with all the related information to this MD5 or SHA. Part of our Kaspersky Threat Intelligence portal, also the customer can get or gain access to our Kaspersky Cloud Sandbox. So, for example, if the customer has an object, okay, which he wants to execute on the sandbox, he can upload it to Kaspersky Cloud Sandbox. It will be executed on our Kaspersky private cloud sandbox, and within 2 or maximum 3-5 minutes, he will get the information, all the information related to this object, but it will be executed on our cloud sandbox. But in your case, or the customer case, if he's using KATA or EDR, there is no need to upload the object to Kaspersky Cloud Sandbox. But it is worth to mention that yes, we have Kaspersky Cloud Sandbox, but it will be we cancel it as a separate service as part of Kaspersky Threat Intelligence Portal subscription. The third service, which can be added also to Kaspersky Threat Management, Kaspersky Anti-Target Attack and EDR, is the training which I mentioned at the beginning of this presentation. Kaspersky has its own training program to develop the security department of any organization. We have dedicated a technical or expert training program for malware analysis and reverse engineering, digital forensics training, and incident response. And for malware analysis and digital forensics, it has two levels. We have beginner and advanced. We have incident response training also, managed protection services. As I said, the customer can purchase either target attack discovery or incident response as a service, which is considered as an insurance. So in case the customer has an attack and this attack was able to bypass all the security solutions and layers on their organization, then they can ask Kaspersky incident response team to intervene and lead the investigation about this attack. There will be a dedicated team who can collect the traces, more information, events from the customer environment, analyze these alerts and these information, and provide the customer with the detailed report about this attack, which data was compromised, which data was leaked, how can they block or how can they stop this attack, and how can they, at the end of the report, there will be some recommendation on how to enhance their security solutions or security layers. And this recommendation will be a generic recommendation. We will not force the customer to purchase any specific solution or service from Kaspersky. So these services can be added to Kaspersky at the top of Kaspersky anti-target attack solution or EDR. What else? We can add additional service or let's say a solution to their environment. In case the customer has a CM solution, then we can offer them a solution called Kaspersky Threat Data Feeds. Kaspersky Threat Data Feeds will give the customer the latest and the accurate information about the recent or the current attacks or the current advanced persistent threats, which is under monitoring or under investigation by Kaspersky. So these information will be considered as top confidential information. We will not share it with any customer because the APT, as I said, it will be still under monitoring or under investigation. However, these information can be provided to a specific customer who has the threat data feeds as a solution. So how it will work, we will provide these information into feeds into the customer's CM solution. So we will provide different feeds, or you can call it database. One database for IP reputation, database or feed for URL reputation, database related for the hashes or malwares, hash files of the malware used for these APTs or targeted attacks, hash feeds for the PSMS or the malwares which is targeting the smartphones. All this information will be sent to the customer CM solution. The CM solution will do the parsing on the CM solution. It will share or it will map these events which will be received by Kaspersky and the events which will be received from the solutions or platforms connected to the CM solution. So for example, if the customer has a CM solution and he has a proxy, a firewall, endpoint connected to his CM solution. So these platform or these security solutions, such as the endpoint, firewall, the proxy, whatever, they are sending events to the CM solution, right? At the same time, Kaspersky will provide the CM solution with more information about so the CM will do the matching, okay, to check that this event which received from the firewall or the proxy, it has related events on the from the Kaspersky threat data feeds to give the security officer an alert that there is a malicious file or malicious objects or URL or IP address access the network, and this from Kaspersky perspective, it is a dangerous object or dangerous URL which has to be blocked or prevented. So Kaspersky threat data feeds can be integrated directly with the CM solution, or we have our own platform called CyberTrace, where the parsing will be done on Kaspersky CyberTrace. It's a web URL interface. But Kaspersky CyberTrace will do the parsing on a dedicated server called CyberTrace server to minimize the load on the CM solution. The CyberTrace, it will also allow the customers to get more information or more APIs or more feeds from different solutions. So the customer has two options, either to integrate KATA solution or EDR with our threat management threat data feeds solution, or with the CyberTrace platform. So this is all about Kaspersky threat management and defense. And as I said, the solutions we are using on this platform is Kaspersky anti-target attack, which is mainly designed to detect APTs or zero-day attacks or the target attacks on the network level. EDR to cover the endpoint level, considering workstations and servers. And we can add at the top of these two solutions some additional services to complete the platform, which called Kaspersky Threat Management and Defense. KATA solution, you can sell Kaspersky anti-target attack separately, EDR separately. You can install Kaspersky EDR using the standalone agent at the on any machine, even if it has another endpoint security solution. It's not mandatory to use Kaspersky endpoint security. It is compatible with any endpoint solution. So we can offer our EDR to any organization, even if they are using Symantec, McAfee, or etc., or Trend Micro, for example, endpoint solution. And that's it. Hopefully, I was able to cover all the technical features of Kaspersky anti-target attack and the EDR. And the time now we will give to the questions.
So yes, hi. Zahir, we have two questions which I can see. First question, the EDR solution has been tested by NSS lab or not yet?
Yes, it has been tested, and we can share with you. I think if the partners of the colleagues, they can access our partners portal, they can find all the related documents and these testing results from NSS or what do you call this? Yeah, from different independent agencies such as NSS. So yes, it was tested, and they can find the results on the partners portal.
Okay, fair enough. And second question, which is what is the impact of the deep behavior scan in the apps and OS performance?
All right. So first of all, let me clarify something. As I said, the analysis, it won't be done on the server itself or the workstation itself. The object will be sent to the servers, central node, where we will do the analysis, or where the analysis will be done using different technologies. There's no impact on the machine itself.
Okay. Zahir, I think your voice is breaking a little. Hello?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry. So
Yeah.
your voice was breaking. Great.
Can I repeat the answer for the second question, or it was clear?
This was being asked by Meena.
No.
Is it clear? I Okay, just a second. No,
No.
they
All right.
want some more clarifications.
More clarification?
Yeah, if
Okay.
you just go through, because it was getting disconnected in between. The voice was getting cut. So if you
All
can
right.
just repeat your answer again, so that they can hear it.
All right. Okay. So, Mina, the answer was the analysis will not be done on the machine itself, or the workstation, or the server itself. The solution is designed to analyze these objects on dedicated servers with high performance server specs. So the sensors, or the EDR, will send the object to the central node to analyze this object. It won't be analyzed locally on each machine, which means there will be no impact at all on the machine performance.
Okay.
Right? Yep.
Yeah.
Is it clear, Vina?
Uh, the same continuation, Zair. What they're asking is, what is the minimum network speed to be to do this test? Yeah. Okay.
All right. Good question. Okay, to be able to define the minimum network speed, it depends on the, let's say, how many endpoints the customer has, what is the network volume used. So basically, there will be a questionnaire which you have to send to the customer if they want to try or test Kaspersky anti-target attack or EDR. The questionnaire will ask the customer to fill some answer with generic information about their network equipment, the integration they are using, not the network equipment actually. They will ask the customer basically which integration they want to use. Integration with the email gateway. If yes, then what is the email gateway they are using? The number of messages received per second. The second question, if they want integrated with this PAN. If yes, then what is the network volume, okay, or the traffic volume on their core switch? If they want to integrate with the ICAP, also they will ask which solution they are using and the volume. This is very important to be able. This information will help us to do the calculation based on this information and the number of endpoints that will communicate with the central node. We will be able to tell the customer that we need this minimum network volume or network connection between the endpoint and the central node and the sandbox.
Perfect. One question we have.
Yep.
Okay, so I think we'll finish off with Meena's question. Then we have one more question. So the solution cannot run in the machine offline. If yes, how?
So the solution cannot run if the machine is
I think they want to
offline.
ask
Yes.
if they can run it offline.
Let me clarify this question first. The machine has to be connected to the central node. Yes, it's correct, Mina. The machine should be connected to the network to be able to share this information to the central node and the sandbox. Yes, but if the machine is disconnected, then the EDR will keep this object or this object will remain on the machine until the machine is connected to the network and then send it to the central node. So the answer, yes, if the machine is disconnected from the network, not offline, offline means disconnected as I could understand, then yes, it has to be connected to the online and then it will be sent to the central node.
Okay, great. I think we've answered the question. There's just one question. There was some. Okay, Zaid, I'm not sure if you will know this, but if you're aware, we've got a question asking that Kaspersky was asked to be uninstalled from government.
Yes.
Was it true? What has happened to that? You know, we have a
Yep.
question on
You want the short version or the long version of the answer?
that. I suppose short version should be
All right.
good enough.
So definitely, I wanted to answer to Niaz on this question. To be honest, the short version of this issue, it was totally related to some political issues between US and Russia. Okay. First, we need to understand that Kaspersky, okay, it is her headquarters in Russia, but we cannot consider it as a Russian company because our legal department, so many entities are based in UK. Because of this issue, and to show the customers that we are transparent and we don't do any underground or we don't leak any information, Kaspersky initiated or launched two global transparency centers, and you can read about Kaspersky Transparency Center. So this is also to comply with the GDRP for Europe. All the data that will be analyzed, if it is coming from Europe, it will be analyzed within a global transparency centers located one in Switzerland and one in Spain. So all the information received from the customer will be analyzed on a global transparency centers where we have the servers and dedicated solutions within these transparency centers to analyze these traffic from the customers. And by the way, the customer or any customer has the right to visit these global transparency centers to check how Kaspersky will work and how they will analyze this traffic. So the short version, as I said, it is related to some political news. And since more than a year or a year and a half, we didn't hear anything from the media about this issue. The CEO of our organization, Mr. Eugene Kaspersky, was trying to take this case further with the law enforcement in US, but he got denied. He was not able to prove that our solution is what do you call this? Is clean or it can be trusted. So this is the short version. This is something which I can explain right now. If you need more information or if you need further details to present to your customers, then I prefer to communicate with our channel department or our marketing department. They can provide you with better answers, better than my answers, and better documents to support our case.
Fair enough.
All right.
Just one last question I can see. If the machine is not connected with internet, it's not protected?
No, 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 no. The machine, if you mean the workstations or the servers, no, it's not mandatory to have all machines connected, but it is it is mandatory, not important. It is mandatory to keep the central node connected to the internet, although the sandbox. So internet connection is mandatory on the central node and sandbox. If we are talking about KATA and EDR, internet connection on the workstations or server, it's not mandatory because all the analysis verification with the KSN will be done on the central node or the KATA or EDR platform.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, sure. Just wanted to check. Lastly, if anybody else have any questions, we're more than happy to answer. And if you want to, ask one-on-one, we will share you anyways the contact details. You can get in touch, and we will pass on your message.
Definitely.
So yes, great. Yeah. So Zahir, then we will wrap up. Uh, I would like to say thank you, for taking this session, and thank you for the all the partners attending the session. I hope it is useful, and we want to work with you guys ahead. Uh, Please let us know. We'll get in touch with you. Obviously, we'll get in touch with you. We'll have a one-on-one session. Any support in terms of technical or sales, we are more than happy to help you. And yeah, great. You guys will lastly, I believe we have a small quiz, but the thing is, we're running a little late here. So what we will do is we'll drop you guys an email with the quiz, and then we'll get back to you with the results. Yeah.
Yep.
Cool. Thank you, Zahir. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for your preparation, good preparation for organizing this webinar. Thank you for all partners also for their participation, for attending this session. Hopefully, I was able to share with them some information about KATA and EDR. If they need any further information about KATA, EDR, or threat management and defense, or any additional services, they can approach me directly, or they can approach you. All the related documents will be shared with them directly.
Definitely.
All right.
That's
Done.
amazing. Zahir, again, thank you from Redington for, coming and having this session for us and all the partners and customers out there. It was really a wonderful session, and I hope all the partners have their questions answered. We will share details of the Kaspersky team as well as the Redington sales team, and, you guys can get in touch with us with any queries or any orders related to Kaspersky. So thanks
Sure.
again, and I hope all of you have a great day ahead.